but I know it can defend on some maps too, especially the UT1 maps where he's used to defending. It'll be interesting to see if some of these guys like Met end up playing a lot and getting better as the season goes on. They could be a lot better by the end of this season than they were at the beginning.
Yeah, Met's a really good flag runner in 99, but I just haven't seen him play 2k4 very much.
He's like a $900+ flag runner.
Yeah.
And seeing the quick element pickup by Bob. So Bob going with a little bit of an unorthodox.
Oh, come on.
An unorthodox.
Come on, Bob.
Come now.
Come on, Bob.
Come on, babe.
We had an agreement. It was, non-verbal agreement.
It was an unspoken, just understood on one side agreement.
It was a unilateral agreement, is what we call that.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
That's a kind of agreement.
Alright, I am gonna risk my planet right now.
Oh boy. So there's one of your guys, Neo, going to Linoleum's team.
Yeah, I mean, if he can boot camp and get those Pistons down again, he could be a really good pickup.
I'm messaging him on Facebook right now.
Lino, leveraging some insider information here.
Hey, whatevs, man.
You play to win the game.
That's right.
I'm playing for keeps.
Play for keeps.
So we've got an interesting mix of these remaining players, some of which, no one really knows if they're going to be around, haven't seen them in a while, maybe they will, maybe they won't. Some that are around, but, no one's really sure if they're going to be, decide to play or not, and then some that are just kind of relatively unknown. And I know we saw Darkstar come back and post in a forum recently. I don't know if he's pugged yet. He's the very bottom $100 player.
Oh, let me plug some advertisement in here real quick. After this CTF draft is over, I'm going to be hosting a TDM draft on MLUT. We're going to try to get as many of the TDM community players back as we can. Noticed that we still got a few of the high-level guys hanging around. Ra, we got DC, we got Cafe. I know Dog Pound was back a little while ago. A lot of other people have been showing interest in TDM. Boys and Bagels, Concrete, Kuski.
You're talking about at the conclusion of this MLUT season, is that correct?
Yes, once the CTF season is over, I'll be opening signups for the TDM season.
And for anyone looking to play, there's only 3 spots remaining in the current pug, although we do have some captains in there too. Actually, it just filled.
Captains are in it and everything.
Well, that's going to be some interesting multitasking going on here.
They can wait.
Although there's only a few picks left.
Yeah, there's only, a couple picks
That's
left
what
for
I'm
most of
saying.
these teams. Fro going to go ahead and pick up Terror. I do think that Fro will be able to convince Terror to play if he really wants to. He can get him playing again. And so, depending on what happens with that could end up being a pretty solid pickup for him.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm not sure every captain could have accomplished that. So Terror's one of those guys that could really only go to specific teams and really be valuable. But I think that's one of them.
Surprised Saint Sonic hasn't been picked up.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised myself. I think he's just been a little bit out of sight, out of mind the last couple weeks. He'd been fairly active previous to that, but I think he hasn't played since people have really started digging into who they're going to pick.
Yeah, I wonder how Cash was going to do. Is that what you're talking about or no?
We're talking about Sonic, like Saint
Okay.
Sonic. Like, I think if this draft had taken place 3 weeks ago, I think he definitely would have been picked. But right now, he's sort of been not as active, and I think there's probably some question marks there.
I agree with that. He's a pretty good fragger.
Good flag runner, good fragger, gets good pickups.
Cashwell could be, a bit of a sleeper too. I don't know if he's been playing at all, but he used to be
See,
pretty good.
that's exactly what I said on my side. Sleepers.
He's probably been pubbing Bombing Run, which I know
Seriously?
okay. He is very well known for doing that in the off time.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
if
maybe
Killer
it's not,
if Killer doesn't make a pick in the next 30 seconds, he's going to automatically pick Saint Sonic. So we'll get one of those. We'll get him in right after talking about him.
Indeed. People that probably will not get picked. I don't know. Fucking Sponge is always around. He's always here. He never pugs. He spectates like every pug that happens ever. I know he plays Instagive UT99 CTF.
I played with him recently, yeah. And then when I put 2 and 2 together, I'm like, wait, you're Sponge, like the same one? And he's like, yeah. I never see him play
he's
otherwise.
always around. He literally specs almost every pug that happens, and he's a pretty cool guy. I don't know why he doesn't play as much. I don't know.
Yeah, I like him. He's pretty good too in 99.
Yeah, definitely. At Instagive.
Yeah,
I haven't seen him play weapons in UT99.
neither have I, but yeah.
He can point and click very well.
I wonder
you've
why
got-
Fear stopped playing.
Oh, here we go. Chicken and Saint Sonic. There you go. Getting picked up back to back.
That was one of the people I was about to say is not going to get picked this season for some
Chicken
odd reason.
totally could get picked. I mean, he's not bad. Like, he's
He has
pretty
great
good.
comms. His comms are so much better than he is.
He shits all over me sometimes on comms. Like, I'll stutter for a second and he'll just like fucking let me have it.
The same thing happens to me. I can't call out anything. My comms are horrible. I get told this by everybody, especially when I run with Kuzki, and he bitches at me relentlessly.
Yeah, you have a bad way about you where like on Vault City you'll be like, well, I'm at her high, and it's like, well, what the.
Yeah.
Well,
Like, come on now.
I don't like having cover all over me all the time.
To be fair, Neo, like we literally complain to him about this all the time. I complain to him over WhatsApp about this, and I just started playing again. So he's fully aware of it at this point.
Oh, I know completely, but I mean, there's some maps like the other day I was playing Pistola, and I had the enemy flag. They didn't know where I was, and I was just circling their base, picking up files till I had 199, and nobody had seen me, and
So
people
you
were
figured
yelling
you'd
at me.
alone.
Yeah, and I just kept saying like, stay in middle, like go to middle, and then
Go to bread.
eventually, yeah. I love Lamp. And eventually, when I came out of their base, my whole team was in middle, and it was easy to get back to my base. But that doesn't work out every time.
Well, going back over this list, there's a lot of folks that people are familiar with the names, but I mean, you're looking at like, Pyrogenics. I haven't seen him play UT in years, and he certainly hasn't been playing lately. Nightjade, I don't even know when he signed up.
Nightjade's around. He's on the Facebook group and he's been talking, but he has no real interest in CTF. Same with
Okay.
Pyra.
Yeah, exactly.
Pyra's around, but he has no interest in CTF.
Kidsin's obviously a well-known UT1 player. Don't know if he's ever touched 2k4.
2 seasons ago, he played for a team, but he wasn't interested in it very much. And he let me know that he probably will not show up to play this season.
Sorn the same way, if I'm not mistaken, a well-known UT99 player, correct?
Yeah, he's like the $1,000 CTF player. Very, very good. He's a super effective true middle player, where he gets every power up all the time and ends the map with 120 frags.
Bob picking Illusion. Bob has a really odd team composition.
I feel like Bob's gonna be playing 1v5.
I feel like Bob's gonna. I think Bob has probably the best TAM team of anybody on here.
I think if you just had Bob and Lavuk, that would make the best TAM team here.
We're seeing this picking has slowed down a bit. A lot of the captains taking timeouts to make sure that they get a good sense of what's available here. Again, even though it's only 5-on-5, you really don't want to waste any picks here because you never know when you might need to call on that 6th or 7th person to fill in for someone. And certainly it's going to affect how you can scrim too, because you're going to be requiring your entire roster to be around. You can't just sit around and wait for all 5 starters to be on because you never know what people's availability is going to be.
Shit. It's gonna be shit. I remember the last MLUT, man. Like, people just stopped showing up. Like, I don't even think it finished. Not 2k4, but 99. It was a pretty big disgrace.
Well, this one's absolutely going to finish.
Yeah, it's gonna be outstanding. Talk it up while we can.
Oh, yeah.
I do think each team has plenty of actives, it seems like, looking over.
It shouldn't be a problem, yeah.
Yeah, this isn't going to be bad at all. Because I mean, I've been on teams with Dark Virus. He shows up for every match.
Yeah, activity wasn't the problem for 99 either. The people just like, you know, emote out and like slit their wrists and just stopped playing. Like,
They started crawling in their skin.
Yeah, they're crawling in their skin.
Crawling in their skin.
I will say this, and I actually talked about this with Neo last night. There has been a pretty good, I don't know how to describe it, but a pretty good atmosphere around the pugs in 2K4 lately where, you know, when people are losing close matches or giving up, you know, big leads and losing at the last second, rather than everyone rage quitting and just yelling about it, then people are actually, like, appreciating the fact that they've got good games to play.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a different attitude when you realize that this could be the last time that, like, we play this game. So...
I think the way things are picking up, that's definitely not going to be the case, though.
I don't think so either. I think it's just melodrama, but, you know, it's always nice to keep people thinking that, so that they, you know...
There's
Cafe,
like
your life
70-some
is a
people on the
melodrama.
channel right now.
Shit.
Yeah, I think we peaked at something like 170 people simultaneously watching the stream earlier. We're still at around 55 to 60, which I presume it has to be people from the community, because I don't know why any randoms would be interested in listening to us ramble on about players and their effects on this draft, but if you are, then by all means, thanks for listening.
Maybe Cliffy B just has a bot network that he sends to watch these things.
Hey, that's fine with me. Maybe then I can finally get some options in my actual Twitch streams here.
They'll prioritize you.
Alright, I'm going to go ahead and pug up for a pug number 2. And,
Oh, here we go. Zio's picking Banco. Didn't even realize.
Banco is a UT99 IG player.
I believe that was another
at
Global
QuakeCon
Unreal, wasn't it?
This past year. Yeah, he was at QuakeCon this past year.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna pick DSK because he's my British boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
And we have Cashel in the 2k4CTF channel.
Nice. It's about time.
Boom. That's right.
Yeah, Grog became a feminist or something, so I don't think we're going to be seeing much of him, but I'm glad to see Cashel's back.
Yeah, Grog is like, he's doing some weird thing in Florida. Where you're like,
I preferred my explanation. He became a feminist.
he became
I wasn't going to question it. I was just going to go with it.
I don't know if that's really the...
I don't know. I got my
term.
sources. Okay? I got my sources.
Okay. I've been following like his strange Facebook posts and stuff.
Strange, yeah. Yeah.
And that'll do it. So the last few picks come in. Everyone kind of had a good idea towards the end. Fro picking Mr. Irrelevant, Darkstar, the lowest salaried player, actually gets picked up.
Marcos went with Spark. Spark is a really good. He started out as a IGCTF player, and then he moved into some weapons teams and
Yeah, he's
kicked a
very
lot of
good.
ass. He
He's
was
very
a
good.
new
I just
guy.
haven't seen him play in forever, so I just didn't really think much of it. I didn't know if he even signed up himself.
Yeah, and then, I mean, that's the big question too. It's not so much just a matter of are people around, but it's like how active have they been? Because if you're trying to just go on how good someone was 7 years ago, not necessarily the best indicator.
Definitely not.
All right, well, I know there's a pug going on right now. I don't know who all is trying to get grabbed to go play that. I think me and Nia are going to do one more recap of the teams and of the free agents left over here.
Yep.
All right, so what do we got here? Well, let's just go ahead and open up his team. I've got the list shown up here. You can kind of see it in IRC.
Damn, Danny's around. It's like fucking 4 in the morning. Where's he? Where he's at?
Yeah, he lives on U.S. Central Time now, I think.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, good. That means he can play in our matches.
Yeah. Clearly.
He lives in the UK, but he plays
No,
on our time.
Yeah. He did let me know that his activity was going to be spotty at best. But I didn't tell anybody else that, so I'm picking
So take that, other
Zios.
team.
Boom, Zios!
Well, hey, that's up to the captains to
I'm going home
do
with
their
a
own
ring.
do their own research.
Yeah.
I'm going home with a ring. Bling bling.
So I know we heard that there was an open trade offer there.
There is an open trade offer for Neo to Team Facial.
Dope.
Make an offer.
I imagine Facial's probably listening as he's pugged up in the next pug, so he's definitely on the lines.
I think we definitely need to trade for Element too at some point. I think that's a given, but we'll discuss that later. That'll be a closed door discussion.
I'm actually gonna get ready to post the schedule for the entire season after I make the teams on MLUT website.
So did Xenos end up getting added to the pug bot itself?
He did not get added to the pug bot, but he was only like in the $200 range anyway.
Okay, I have no idea how active he's been. Well, he's gonna get added to the free agent list because I mean, I'm seeing him talking. I'm like, oh, that's right, I remember that name.
He was playing a couple days ago, so I don't know.
Because looking over his free agent list, there's quite a few players that I think could step in and maybe not necessarily be starters, but could certainly fill in and play the game. I mean,
Most definitely.
like I say, one of my sleeper picks was Hector. Hector, Darth. You got Fields or however you pronounce that. Also didn't get picked. All three of those guys I think can definitely be a support defender or a support attacker and just track people down and blow them up with guns.
Even Keo was
Blow
playing
them up
decent anyway when that last capture the flag tournament was going.
And I know I've heard some other players talk about Fields too being one of their big sleeper picks, but I'm not sure what his activity level is, and maybe that's what's been scaring off some of these captains. But again, it's a good opportunity for these guys to stick around and pug up, and if they impress captains, I mean, they can. Like I said, the great thing about not having a salary cap is any free agent can be added to any team at any time.
Indeed.
DSK letting us know it's only 3:35 in the morning over there.
All that just totally changes things. It doesn't.
Yeah, that's totally not 4.
Yeah,
That's so far off from 4.
he's got like half an hour to party before he has to say it's 4. All right, so Neo, I think we're gonna go ahead and go over these teams right quick. Do a little recap of what we're looking at. We've had some requests for that. I'm just gonna go by the order that I've got it up on the board up here. So Facial with the first pick went with Fusion. Not surprising. You're pretty much looking at. Let's see. You're pretty much looking at Fusion, I believe, going to be an offensive player, but then you have Arc right there too. And so really, I think he has 2 of the top 10 flag runners were his first 2 picks.
Yeah, I think you're right with that.
And then with
Although
you,
you can definitely play defense depending on the map.
yeah, I mean that's the interesting thing is he's got 2 players that can play either role, and I mean Poison Bagels I believe is going to be his anchor. He's going to be on the flag the whole time. I'm thinking he's probably going to have Fusion in a swing role, be able to move him back and forth, because I know he likes to defend on certain maps, and he likes to run on certain maps. So maybe that's why he went ahead and built both directions, is so that he can make up for that, because I know Facial himself can play both roles too.
Yeah, definitely. Like I could see even Facial and PB defense or something like that, where Fusion plays the third offensive cover and Arc and I run flags or something.
Yeah, Fusion doesn't really like playing defense. I mean, he'll do it, but I don't think it's his, he doesn't like doing it.
He just likes it on Vault City, but other than that, I don't think he really likes it.
Yeah, well, I think he's also, like I said, more valuable as an attacker. Arc, we've seen play defense, I think, back in the day. I don't know if he's done it lately. So
he'll do it occasionally, but most of the time, people value him more for his offensive ability,
Right.
Just because it's like you always try to put people where you think they'll do best, and people just usually perceive him as being offensive. So, I mean,
he's pretty offensive to me. I don't know.
Yeah, you get pigeonholed,
But like I say, when he was picking his team, Facial's team definitely versatile. Just right across those first 4 picks, you have people that can play at least two different roles on the team, and some of them even more. So, Neo, continuing that, where do you think you'll be playing for these guys, Neo? I mean, what do you think? What do you anticipate?
That's interesting. Yeah. That's an interesting question. I've been playing a bunch of D lately because Bob keeps picking me and he wants to play D with me. But geez, I honestly don't even know. That's an interesting question. I've ran a lot of flags with PB in the recent past, but I've also played defense with PB. I feel like Fischl picked some people that he's seen play a lot of pugs together recently, honestly. Because Poison Bagels, Fusion and I have played a lot of maps together, if I'm not mistaken. And then Facial and I have been playing together. And Facial knows that I can mesh with a lot of different personalities. Not that we even have that worry on this team, honestly.
What happened to T?
We'll get into that in a private conversation.
I think he became a feminist and started making weird posts somewhere. Alright, so moving on from that, that's definitely going to be team versatility right there. Fro had next pick, went with Blimpo. So already, I mean, I perceive Fro as an offensive-minded player. I don't know if maybe someone else has another experience with him.
I think he's offense. He's the offensive drop back.
Okay.
Fro backing.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, playing the old TB position. And so then you got Blimpo there, who's another one of those players that can play both defense or offense, but probably better served as a flag runner. DC, I believe we're going to be seeing strictly on defense for him. Now, I am completely unfamiliar with Corky. I know he's been playing like in the relatively recent history, but I haven't seen him in the past month or so since I've really come back. Any insights onto him from anyone?
I have none whatsoever. We just saw him playing offense in that pug earlier tonight. He seemed to play decent, but...
Because that's what I'm wondering from Pro. You're going to have Blimpo probably being primary flag grabber, although I would rather see him, like if I've got Blimpo on my team, I would rather see him being the number 2 guy, letting someone else do most of the grabbing and putting up the shield guns, and letting Blimpo be a close cover and get the pickups after getting kills. Because Blimpo is such a good fragger, I wouldn't want to be have his aim wasted with just a shield gun up the whole time. So my own perception of that. Maybe they'll be running Corky as the runner, Blimpo as cover, and then B-Banks as that sort of the third attacker. And maybe Fro on D, or maybe B-Banks D with DC. That could work too.
I think Fro has to play offense, but I would say maybe Blimpo and DC just play defense, I guess, at this point, or at that point.
Alright, so quickly run through this again. Lino's team, Linoleum and Cafe we've had in here. Josh, who I think who was an underrated defender as far as the salary goes, but I know a lot of that has to do with, he's one of those players to where if he meshes well with his team, he can really outplay himself. But if he doesn't, he can kind of get down and not play as well. And of course, Rookie, who had a good last MLUT, so we'll see how that comes into play. A lot of defensive players coming in for Linoleum's team in those early picks. Although, of course, Josh can run offense. I think he's hasn't been happy with it lately. 9 flag runner. Cashel, of course, could be a big game changer if he's able to get him back and active.
Yeah, I would assume Cafe plays offense with Linoleum and 9 for their top 5. Unless Cashel comes back and becomes a really good flag carrier again, but I don't know, how much he's been playing or if he has at all.
I mean, what I would do is just take DSK on the amp and let him just mega kill everybody.
Yeah.
Alright, so moving over to Killer's team now, you've got, went with the first pick of Zelos. Killer being I believe his best role is a very aggressive flag runner. We've seen him go back and forth in pugs, and that's whenever he's actually had teams have big turnarounds when he goes from playing defense to playing offense. We saw that big comeback in the pug the other night, so I would expect him to be a very aggressive offensive player. He's got Failsauce, who's basically the same role, and then Zelos waiting to catch them in mid to cover them. Could be one of those offenses that just constantly has maps, or it constantly has flags moving in maps.
Yeah, I agree. I think he'll be Killer and Failsauce driving with Zelos covering, and then Dark Virus and MLUT strictly D.
Yeah, it's going to be a very entertaining team to watch. These flags are going to be moving a lot in those matches. Bob now, kind of like I say, I think he drafted probably the best TAM team on here. Very unorthodox in who he chose. I'm not sure who's going to run the flag for him. Xavier, I guess.
Bob can do it.
Can he? Okay.
I don't know if he will, but he could.
I've seen him in pugs lately playing more of an offensive cover role, but I hadn't seen him run the flag. But if he's capable of it, then maybe that's what he's planning on doing there.
Yeah, he's good at pistons. Sweet pistons, for example.
Okay, so then Vengeance and Dre, I presume, would be defense, and Lavac probably playing a cover role along with Xavier. Like you said, HV has been back a little bit lately. Maybe if you can get him into shape, you can even sub him in there, depending on the maps.
Yeah, I think he can play good defensively. They have a pretty good line there.
And Marcos.
HV's been playing some pretty good defensively.
Yeah, if he can get away from editing maps long enough to actually play, then that could be a good 5th pick there. No secret what Marcos had in mind. He went straight for his defensive tandem and then picked up an offensive runner, or really 2 of them that I think he's really comfortable with. I think as far as familiarity, I think team chemistry goes, Marcos' offense is definitely one of the tops that we saw drafted.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree with that, and they all get along really well, I believe, so.
Yeah, and I know that was one of the big concerns with Cool Spot, is that, he's one of those guys that can improve, get a lot better, get a lot worse, depending on how he meshes with the people he's playing with, and I think in this team he shouldn't have that problem.
The interesting thing will be if Nil is able to show up for enough matches.
Yeah, that'd be a big, because they didn't really pick up another defender, strictly speaking, to replace him. Then again, there's still time for drafts, so maybe that'll change. Unless Zax, I don't know, does Zax play defense at all?
I'm unfamiliar.
I know Zax pretty well. I haven't played much UT with him, oddly enough.
He can play any position.
Okay.
He's rusty. He's on and off, but he can play any position.
Interesting. It'd be very interesting to see if Nell, shows up and is able to work around his schedule there. Then of course we have Zeos, who I think probably had his team planned out or go according to plan as well as anybody. Getting Danny, Orange, Ganja, and Chowie. I have to imagine he had those planned out ahead of time. And,
yeah, I definitely think so. Definitely Ganja and Chowie, and I'm sure he picked Danny as, assuming Danny can show up and be active as their main flag carrier.
Yeah, well, Zeos are, certainly arguably one of the best, or arguably the best defender in the game right now. So he knows that anyone he sticks on D with him is going to be effective. And certainly if Chowie can come back anywhere near his previous form, that'll be a very formidable challenge for any enemy offenses. You've got a pure flag runner in Danny. Ganja and Orange able to play those sort of cover roles with him, and I think he's got a good all-around team right there. If all his starters show up, definitely one of the favorites, I think.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty good season. There's a lot of good teams out there.
So, any predictions coming in before you head off? I know we've got some pugs starting up. I know some of you guys want to get pug in. I'm getting a bunch of text messages from the drunk ladies, so we'll see what happens tonight.
Drunk ladies.
I mean, I think, obviously, question marks aside, a lot of players that have plenty of time to improve and come back and get back into shape. Question marks aside, I think just judging by what we can see, who do you think are probably who would you think would be the favorites to end up in the finals?
If I had to pick a team right off the bat here, assuming Vengeance can come back and really play up to his potential, because Levaque's been playing a lot of CTF lately, I think that's a pretty favored team. Bob has some ridiculous hit scans, so if they play their positions right, I think that team is really. I mean, there's so many good teams out here, but if I had to pick two teams in the final, just off the top of my head, if everybody shows up, I would say Bob and Zios' team, just right now.
Yeah, see, and that's the big question. Like, I'm looking at Marcos' team, and I think they have a really good setup for team chemistry. I mean, hell, me, Kuzki, and Fallacy played UT1 Instagib together, so those two guys know each other very. I don't know how much they played 2K4 together, but of course, Marcos is basically Team League of Legends up there too. Those guys play a lot of LoL together.
Yeah, that means they're automatically destined to lose because that game's for losers.
Well,
League of losers.
Well, of course, you had the big question mark with Nell. So that aside, I like their chemistry, and I think that can play a big role in these games. But I'm actually thinking Facial's ability to plug and play most of his team into different positions. I think Facial has the best roster top to bottom, and he got the two Euros at the end, Sta and Sonic. Those two guys are also very versatile, and again, presuming that their schedules permit them to play, he can dig onto his bench, so to speak, and pull out players who are certainly starter worthy. I mean, Sonic is certainly not a slouch. He holds his own in any of these bugs. He just went to the end because of a lot of the availability issues and questions about his activity. So I think Facial probably has the deepest roster, and I think Zeus has a very well crafted roster, given that his teams can show up. So if we're saying everyone shows up, I'm gonna say Facial and then Zeus probably in the finals. I like Marcos' lineup, but we'll have to see what happens with that.
Yeah, well, we're just going to pull several upsets. And, you'll be seeing Lino's team versus Lino's team in the finals.
You'll be playing your second team in the finals. It'll be Linoleum Gold versus Linoleum Silver.
Linoleum Silver, yeah. Well, actually, Linoleum 1 versus Linoleum A, because we don't want to
Okay, Alpha and Omega. Is that what we'll have?
Yeah.
Okay, well there you go. You see Cafe's predictions coming in there. And it looks like Lino left us, so really that's it. That's all we got going on here. I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and leave this or stop the stream here. Cut it short in a second. That way we can restart it if we want to go ahead and cast some bugs. That we'll do. Just have the whole draft here as one big thing that you can refer back to and gawk at.
Sounds good.
Thanks for joining me. This is Neo here with me. We had Linoleum Cafe joining us earlier. We had Facial in earlier, giving us the history of MLUT. Went through this whole draft mock draft and all that for Neo. Put a lot of work into this and a lot of thought, and it'll be interesting to see how things move forward in the future. Thanks for joining us. Like I said, I'm gonna possibly pop the stream back up and cast some of these pugs going on tonight, but I'm gonna grab myself a little break first and see how things go. Thanks for listening.
All right, sounds good. And if I'm back on after this first bug here, then I might help cast if you're down. So anyway,
all right, we'll be around.